Hello, divine, messy humans. I am going live today, as you can tell, to talk to you about grief and the effect that grief has on our life. I think I've got a technical issue there. There we go. We're all plugged in now. Silly me. Um, I was on a podcast this morning and we were talking about grief. And I wanted to come on YouTube to discuss how that affects our life. We recognize grief when we've, say, lost a parent or a child or somebody close to us, an influential person in our life. But we often don't acknowledge grief when we are going through times where we're losing ourselves, where we are not processing the way that we are changing and developing. So we don't, say, for example, when you get pregnant or, if you do get pregnant, that moment, you will never not be a mother again, ever. And we don't grieve that part of us. We look forward with excitement to, that next stage, but we don't tend to look back. Likewise, a lot of people who go through marriage breakups don't necessarily look at the grief of what they thought the marriage was and then they were walking into it, who they thought that person could be or should be for them, who they could be or should be for the other person. We don't look at the aspects of ourselves that we end up losing over the years. Even when our children go to school or go to high school, leave home. Every time that this happens, when we change jobs even or move houses, we go through endings. And every ending can create grief in the body, in the system. The other thing that we don't often grieve is our denied selves. The parts of ourself that we've suppressed or hidden away because we're ashamed of them. The parts of them ourselves that often when we get older, we start dusting off and trying them on for size. We start reacquainting ourselves with those parts. But we don't grieve that we suppressed them in the first place. We don't grieve that we were once ashamed of them. And I think it's really important that we start to acknowledge some of this grief. Most negatively felt emotional states are created because we've not fully felt what's going on under the surface. We've not fully felt our grief or our anger or our sadness or our depressions or our frustrations or our resentments. Instead, we're looking forward. We're looking forward towards the next goal, towards the next achievement, towards the next thing that we've set our mind to. Now, I'm not suggesting that we look backwards all the time and look into the past at what's holding us back and what got us, to where we are and all of that. But I think we need to acknowledge more how much grief sits inside us that we haven't processed. And often people don't want to go there because they're afraid that when they open that container, it'll be a Pandora's box that they cannot put the lid back on. And if they feel some of those big feels, that they're never going to be able to not hurt again. But the statement that you've got to feel it to heal it, it's true. When we allow ourselves to feel the full depths of our emotions, we can access new being, new ways of being, new levels of consciousness. And I think that is a really rich, textured place to live life. Now, often we don't want to explore this stuff on our own. Absolutely, 100%. I get it. I don't explore this stuff on my own. I always go to a trusted professional, whether it be another kinesiologist or coach, whether it be my acupuncturist or my naturopath or a massage therapist or my reflexologist or any one of those people that I have on my wellness team to say, this is where I'm struggling. My biggest grief in the last few years has been befriending those parts of myself that I had cut off and hidden away because I was ashamed of them. My too much woman, that woman who does have opinions and is okay, The woman who speaks out on social media about all this supposedly woo-woo spiritual stuff. I never showed that part of me before. And learning to embrace that and learning to grieve for the years that she was shut inside, not able to see the light of day, has really helped me to grow and move forward. It's allowed me to embrace that part of me with a lot more love and acceptance and compassion. In especially the cultures I have spent a lot of time in, mostly Australian and the UK, we do not deal with grief very well at all. Basically, once the funeral's over, it's pull up your bootstraps, pull up your socks, get on with it. Dust yourself off, you'll be fine. She'll be right, mate. But grief doesn't work in that way. Even in those cultures that you're supposed to wear black for the first year, and then the day after, that anniversary or whenever it is, you get allowed to wear your colors again. Grief doesn't stop in those moments. When we can allow grief to be an uncomfortable bedfellow that we befriend until it sits with us more comfortably. Once we accept that it is part of the bittersweetness of life, and that accepting and embracing our grief makes our life richer, more full. It makes us more empathic, more compassionate. And it allows us to add this incredible depth to our life and to our experience that is unsurpassable by, I think, any other emotion. I think the people who have suffered the greatest losses, whether it be influential people or parts of themselves, have so many beautiful stories to share. They have incredible experiences that others can learn from and draw on. I know that for me, the more that I've gotten to know these denied parts of myself, these suppressed parts of me, the more whole I've become. So the more I've been able to serve other people. And to bow down humbly, to know that there is something greater than me out there. To really tap into that expansiveness of the universe, to access my own spirituality, my own understanding of God, the goddess, the creator. And in knowing grief, it allows me almost every day to access awe and joy and wonder. Every morning I walk the beach and I am amazed, whether it be beautiful weather, whether it be misty or windy or rainy, I am still amazed at the beauty of the landscape. When I walk in nature, I am also able to see the beauty there. When I'm confronted with a human being who is suffering, I can see the bittersweetness. I can feel my empathy and my compassion for them, knowing that they too are in grief. And sometimes to get to forgiveness, we need to grieve what we wished had been there or we wished had happened, or to grieve the part of ourselves that allowed it to happen, or to grieve that feeling of being let down by somebody. Sometimes we need to grieve to be able to let that next part of the process unfold. So let me know, how do you process grief? Are there any questions that you have? Is there anything you want to talk to me about when it comes to grief? I'm always happy to answer your questions. In the meantime, if this was useful to you, please like the video, share it with somebody who it might mean something to as well, and subscribe to my channel. I'd love to hear from you. Sending you love and blessings and a big smile for the day. Lots of love.